So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. It's a lot of shit going on in the world as usual. I don't even know where to begin. I really don't. Um, well, we all know that debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden was absolutely awful. And I don't know why Joe Biden's team is trying to sabotage his reelection bid for president because what they're trying to do, because if they were not, they would not have allowed that elderly man to go on and do that debate when he was sick. Biden was sick. He had a cold. And he's a person that's over 80. They should have postponed that debate. Trump literally wiped the floor with Biden. But I have to say, even though I'm not a Donald Trump fan, Donald Trump did make some valid points. People kept saying he lied about certain things. No, he didn't. He was telling the truth about immigration and other things as well, specifically immigration. He was telling the truth about that. How Biden had really lost control over the immigration issue and how he had lost on the immigration issue because now things are totally out of control as it pertains to the issues of immigration. So he wasn't lying about that. But anyway, let's continue. I really don't want to get into politics, but that was a interesting debate. I believe they are supposed to debate again. I believe in September. Biden definitely lost this one, but let's see how he does in September. And by the way, I'm not voting for either candidate. I'm just saying, I'm not voting, period. And I don't care what people say, well, your ancestors died to vote and all that old bullshit. No, they didn't die to vote. They didn't die to vote. It was the principle that they were being told that they could not vote. It was the fact that they were being told that they could not do something, and they fought for that. But I'm sure even the ancestors had a clear understanding that no matter who you voted for, that this country is always going to be under the control of white men. I don't care how many immigrants you bring over here, this country will always be under the control of white men and white supremacist values. And I don't give a fuck who that offends. That's not an attack on white people. That's an attack and a truth telling of the system that we live under. Just truth. So let's have a talk. You know, here lately in the DC area, Maryland, Prince George's County, specifically Prince George's County, there have been influxes of these pool parties, these massive pool parties that have really been disturbing and causing upheaval and mayhem and chaos in normally quiet, upper affluent neighborhoods. I'm talking about like Accokeek, Gaithersburg, those parts of Maryland and Prince George's County. And of course, the culprits, unfortunately, are black. They're having these large block parties and pool parties in neighborhoods that are, like I said, normally considered quiet, peaceful communities. And I know what everyone's going to say. Well, if they were white, no one would be saying anything about it. Oh, yeah, they would. Go look at that show, Fear Thy Neighbor. That is a show based upon real life stories of neighbors who get into or who've gotten into major conflicts, and one of them ended up unalived. And a lot of those stories, what's the word? A lot of those stories, the participants in a lot of those stories are white neighbors. They depict white neighbors who are going against each other. So, yeah, white people do this too. So I don't want to hear from black people. If it were white people, nobody would care. White people get on their neighbors too if they're disturbing their peace of mind. And one thing we know about white people, they like their peace of mind in their neighborhoods. And you know what? I'm with them on that. You live in a peaceful, quiet environment, and then somebody moves into the neighborhood and they start disturbing that because they think that they can just do what they want to do. I pay my taxes and I'm on my property. Yeah, that's true. You pay your taxes and you're on your property, but what you don't have the right to do is to disturb and destabilize an entire community. And that is what these pool parties have been doing. My opinion, just my personal private opinion, if I had my magic wand, I wish we could ban block parties and these types of pool parties. They should be banned. Yeah, they should be banned. Because if I lived in one of those communities, I would be one of the people calling the police, telling them that these people are disturbing my peace of mind. And I don't give a fuck who that offends. We live in an age and an era now where people think that they can just disrespect other people. We already live in an age where people think they can commit all types of crimes against people. But now you want to move into people's neighborhoods. Doesn't matter what your race is. Take the race part out of it. It could be anybody. But in these cases, they happen to be black people. And the reason that I'm so passionate about this is because of where I live at now. This building that I live in, it was a nice building at one time. But then they started letting the wrong types of people move into the building. Crackheads, weirdos, and the wrong type of elements the building started attracting the wrong type of element. People started disturbing people, making noise, neighbors, just out of pocket. So I kind of understand what these people are saying, the ones who are being disturbed in their neighborhood. Peace of mind is everything. Peace of mind is everything. And nobody has the right. You have the right to play your music. You have a right to have a party. But what you don't have a right to do is to consistently disrupt and disturb an entire community. You don't have the right to do that. And on a spiritual level, people like that can't sit still, that always have to party, always have to do this, always have to do that. There's something intrinsically wrong with people like that. Why can't you sit still sometimes? Oh, you can't sit still because those demons are tormenting you. You can't sit still because you're not at peace. And these are the very same people who probably say, or who probably go to church every Sunday talking about God is with them. The Lord is with me. I remember Candace from the Real Housewives of Potomac. No shade to her. But I remember when she did the last reunion last year and Andy said, y'all need Jesus. She said, oh, he's right here. No, he's not. That ain't no Jesus energy. That ain't no Christ energy, honey. No shade, but it's not. I bet you these type of people are the same type of people. They probably run to church every Sunday, but they can't be still. Your Bible says, be still and let God. I may be saying it wrong, but you all know what I'm talking about when it says be still. But they can't do that. They can't be still. They're always on the go. They always got to have a party. They always got to make a lot of noise. They always got to blast their music and disturb other people because they're tormented. They're trying to drown out those demons that are inside of them, or those entities, not even demons, but those entities that torment them. They don't know how to be still. What's that scripture about? Let me look it up. And I'm not a Christian, but I'm looking it up because I'm making a point. Let me see. What is that scripture? Let me see what it says. I can't find. There's a particular saying that I heard about being still. I can't find it. But these people cannot be still. They have to disturb other people. And these are probably your so called Christians. Now, this current case that took place in Montgomery County, and I'm going to tell y'all something Montgomery County, Maryland, don't play. Those white people out there are not going to allow you all to keep getting away with that, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Call me what you want. I don't blame them. You're coming into somebody else's community and disturbing them with your ghetto ratchet, not ghetto, but your ratchet behavior. I would be pissed off too. You think you can just come into somebody's community and disrupt and cause disharmony because you want to party all the time? And then one guy, I think he was a gay white guy, I think he was, he said somebody was urinating. He actually saw them was urinating on his property on one of his trees. And he yelled, "This is not a bathroom." Because the properties out there are massive. The guy who owns the house, who had the pool party, his yard looks very unkept. Go figure. It looks like he has not serviced the yard in a long time. Like it has not been mowed. The trees have not been trimmed. It looks very shabby. It looks very shabbily. I'm just being honest. I think he sounded like he had an African or Jamaican accent. I don't know which one he was, but he was one of the two. I don't believe that's his house. I don't believe that that's his house. I believe that's somebody else's house, and he's probably renting. Now, the news people said they reached out to the owner, and he was interviewed. I don't think he was the owner. I really don't. I don't think he was the owner. If he is the owner, I would be really surprised. Not because he's black, but the vibes that I got. And the news people were saying, well, what do you think about these massive pool parties that you're having, and you're disturbing, the rest of the community? And he said, well, if they had an issue, they should have just came to me. Well, maybe they did try to come to you or not. Nobody owes you the courtesy to try to come to you. When you keep doing something over and over again, it ain't nobody knocking at your door saying you having a massive pool party. People know how crazy you motherfuckers are. I remember one time this guy that lived under me. I approached him about the noise I heard him making under me. He tried to fight me. He wanted to fight me. And this was an old man. He wanted to fight me. And the first thought in my mind was to break his neck. So something said to me, Seer, he's an old man. You will go to jail. See, this is what they do. They back us up into a corner so they can allow people like these, to do whatever they want to do. Thank you, Governor Westmore. Thank you, Governor Westmore, that Libra governor. He ain't shit. And I'm going to talk about him a little bit later in the video. He ain't shit. I don't even know who he is. I don't know how he became governor. They sneak these people in on us. I've never heard of this man. And then the next thing that I know, the first black governor of Maryland. So it doesn't matter what his race is. The issue is he qualified to be governor? And I say no. Because I'm going to talk about him now. Every law that he's passing is not benefiting your everyday average citizen. He's only passing laws to help drug addicts. He passed some law, signed some law recently that had to do with marijuana dispensing or something like that. That's all he's doing. And talking about that bridge in Baltimore that collapsed, That's it. He's not doing anything else to help your average citizen. He's not. I didn't vote for him. I don't know anything about him. He doesn't seem to care about seniors or other people that have issues. He don't care. But he is looking out for drug addicts. He's looking out for them. He's looking out for marijuana stuff because he's probably involved in it. Allegedly. It just doesn't make sense. And now they are allowing, people have called the police about these pool parties, and the police are really not doing anything about it. They are fining the people, they are giving them warnings, they are doing everything they can to deter these people from having these pool parties, but, nothing is penetrating. Nothing is deterring these determined people to disturb other people and to break the law. Nothing is deterring them. And they're not only, and for the record, they're not only, see, they don't tell you this in the news. They are not only disturbing white people, they're disturbing other black people too. This current pool party that took place in Gaithersburg that I'm referring to in Montgomery County, one of the neighbors, she was a light-skinned black woman. She said she's pulling up into her development and security guards for the pool party are stopping residents and homeowners asking them, do you live in this development? Can you park here? Because if not, if you're not part of the party, you can't park here. And she's like, what? Like, who the fuck are you? So what that tells me is this nation is moving towards an anarchy type of society. It sounds like to me. Anarchy is starting to take over. And that's a bad motherfucking thing, in my opinion. Especially if you're not prepared for it. So now they are allowing, like they've done in this building, they are allowing people who don't own homes in those developments. None of these people own any homes in that development that came to that pool party. But the person that does own the house, he is allowing people, outsiders, into that community to destroy it and to disturb it. And people are okay with that? Y'all okay with that? There was another incident, and I don't give a fuck who gets offended. I'm sorry. I don't care what black person gets offended with me saying this. I like my peace of mind. I don't care if you're black, white, blue, or green. If you are disturbing my peace of mind, I'm going to speak up about it. I don't want to hear no loud music outside all the time. Every now and then, if people want to have a function and play their music, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I know people ain't going to hear that. But to do this on a consistent basis, disturbing entire communities, there was another incident that took place in Accokeek, Maryland. Black couple, they look like a pretty nice black couple. They bought their dream home, hard workers. I get it, I got it. They deserve to live how they worked. But what's starting to happen is they too are starting to have parties that are disturbing the surrounding area. And they've gotten 41 citations or 41 phone calls to the police department about the parties that they're having. And now that black couple is trying to sue the state of Maryland or the federal government or one of them, or both of them, I don't know which one, because they believe that they're victims of racism. Let me tell you one motherfucking thing. Let's have a fucking conversation, okay? How can they determine, they're claiming that it's coming from white neighbors. Maybe it is. But how do you determine that it's racism? Because if the complaints are about the parties, then how is it turned into a story of racism? Now, let me say this as a disclaimer. Yes, we do know that black people sometimes are targeted by racists in these neighborhoods. I am not excusing that. But what I'm looking at is a pattern of behaviors. You cannot move into communities and disturb people's peace of mind. If the people in that community are used to peace and quiet, and then all of a sudden you move into the community, no matter what your race is, but you move into the community, and then all of a sudden you start having loud, disruptive parties. It may not be disturbing to you. You may not see a problem with it, but maybe I have a problem with it. For example, there used to be somebody that used to be in the apartment complex behind me. And this person would sit out in their car and blast their music. I mean, just blast it. They didn't do this during the daytime. They waited until 12 and 2 o'clock in the morning to do this. My windows are shut, and I could still hear that boom, 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 boom. Am I supposed to put up with that shit? All for the sake of, well, I have a right to do what I want to do. I can sit in my car and play my music. First of all, who the fuck sits in their car at 12 or 2 o'clock in the morning playing music unless you're a drug dealer? Let's make it make sense. What time is it? Oh, I'm in good time because I got something else I got to do today. Make it make sense. And I'm so passionate about this because it goes back to the building that I live in. When I first moved in this building in the early 2000s, it was beautiful. We didn't have no whole lot of noise in here. We had our fair share of troublemakers and stuff like that, but it was manageable. But then they started letting all these drug addicts and crackheads and weirdos move into the building. They started letting all of these crackheads, and then it became a problem. The more we complained, the more they did nothing about it. The more they did nothing about it. The more we complained, the more they did nothing about it. And they still don't do anything about it. The only thing they did about it was they got some useless security guard who really don't do shit. Because the very people that they got the security guard for are still living in the building. They don't enforce the lease. They criminalize and target people who speak up against shit like this. They criminalize and they target people who speak up against shit like this, like myself, and they look at us as the problem. I'm tired of people always trying to make someone into a Karen or a Darren. Not saying they don't exist, but sometimes people have a right to fucking complain. What is this spell work or the criminalization of trying to silence people? Would you want someone coming on your property relieving themselves? Would you want someone doing that to you? Would you want loud parties and loud noises consistently every weekend in your community where you were used to things being peaceful and quiet? Now, I ain't got nothing against the cookout every now and then. Play some music, have some fun. I don't have nothing against that. I'm not a prude. But come on now, guys. There has to be some limit to a person's patience. And like I said, a lot of these people that got to have these parties and all that shit all the time, they are not at peace with themselves. Peace be still. That's the term that I was looking for. Peace be still. And that's not a biblical term. That's a universal term. Peace be still. When you have no peace, you can't be still. And a lot of these people, even that weirdo that was out in his car blasting his music, they don't have any peace. They're tormented 24 hours a day. They're spiritually tormented. They're mentally tormented. It's nothing wrong with having fun. But when your fun infringes on the peace of mind of other people, that is when it becomes wickedness. And they just don't care. I can do what I want to do. Okay, let's see how long that lasts. Let's see how long that lasts. Because see, what a lot of black people don't understand, a lot of those white people that live in those neighborhoods, they practice some type of spiritualism. And I'm not talking about no Christianity. They practice some type of Wiccan, some type of voodoo. They do some type of practice. And this is why a lot of times you all can't keep your homes. This is why a lot of times you end up getting pushed out of certain communities. Or worse. If you move into my community disturbing me, I have every right to do what I need to do to get you out. And I don't give a fuck who don't like what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck. Now, if you're a peaceful person, you mind your business, and you ain't bothering nobody, nobody should bother you. That's my thing. Anybody that bothers you in that thing, then they try to fuck with you, then they're the ones that deserve to be pushed out. But if you are a person that comes into a community trying to be a bully, to me, this is passive aggressive bullying. And to me, it sounds very interesting, too, that all of a sudden, for the past year or so, all of a sudden, the communities, the upper affluent communities, have now been invaded by this ratchet, unstable, disturbing energy. All of a sudden, now these communities are being flooded where people pay good money to have peace and quiet. So now all of a sudden, they're having all of these massive, loud, disturbing parties and block parties and pool parties. And now it's becoming an issue because it's making the news. And we're not supposed to say anything about that. We're supposed to just say, oh, it's okay. It's okay. They just having fun. It's okay. It's okay. So people just have to just take and adjust to other people's bullshit all the time? Is that where we're going? Is that where we're going with this society? It's not fair and it's not right. I'm black and I don't want anybody disturbing my peace of mind. I don't want to hear your loud music. I don't want to hear you talking outside, loud talking. I don't want to hear all that. Now, I don't know what happened to this building behind me. Well, I do know what happened. I went outside and did some motherfucking work. I did some motherfucking work. You get my drift? I did some motherfucking work. And guess what? Now it's quiet back there. I'm not going to tell you what I did, but I did some work. Because you're not going to come in my vicinity and disturb me. You're not going to do that. Now, I understand people can play their music. I understand people can have cookouts. I can't stop nobody from having cookouts. But when it becomes a problem where you are disturbing entire communities and it's making the news, that's an issue. And it takes me back to the building that I'm currently living in. That is why I can relate to those homeowners and those people who are going through that. Nobody wants to be around that ratchet behavior. Nobody. A cookout should not be a gateway to ratchet behavior. Why can't you just have a normal cookout and just be civil? Why does everything have to be ratchet in the black community? Why does everything have to turn into a ratchet competition? Who can be the most ratchet? I don't get it. You can't just have a cookout and be quiet. And I don't mean be quiet as in not talking, but you got to disturb an entire community. And I'll leave room. I know even when you're not disturbing some of these communities, they'll still call the police on you if you black. I know that happens too. So I'm not talking about those cases. I'm talking about the ones like this one They're going on Instagram announcing all of these pool parties. But you know what I think? I think it's a money grab. I think the owners, they rent their homes out to these people so they can have these pool parties. Because evidently that owner don't live at that house. He don't live there. Those people are not his family members. He rents out that property for that specific purpose. And that's not right for the people who live in that neighborhood. You're causing an instability. You're causing a safety issue because they're hiring security at these pool parties who are stopping other homeowners who have nothing to do with the party and asking them, did you pay to park here? They're having people park on their property, all types of stuff. People urinating on your property. And we're supposed to adjust to this. But see, this is all in accordance with this. It starts at the top. It starts at the top. We see a president that's failing. We see the governor of Maryland who is failing. Nobody likes him that has any sense. I wish Larry Hogan could come back. And I don't give a fuck what none of y'all motherfuckers think. And no, I'm not voting for no Angela Also Brooks either because she's friends with Cora Masters Berry. Next. I mean, law and order is no longer law and order. Because back in the day, they would have locked all those people up. But if you do that now, that's looked at as being racist. You know, you can't do that now. I notice now, even when I have any interaction with when I've had into any interaction with any Caucasian male police officers, they are very, very careful how they talk to me. You know, I remember one time, the only time I really had an incident with the police is when I had to cuss out that crackhead in my building. And going back to that bitch, even she was wrong. She's a crackhead in the building harassing people. Harassing people's guests as they come in the building. She's smoking crack. She going out buying crack. She going out prostituting and doing all this shit, right? My friend who lives with me, my partner, who's been coming to this building long before most of these bitches moved in this building, since 2009, this bitch comes into the building thinking that she's going to be a bully. This is what these people do. She confronts my friend. He tells me about it. We had a meeting about an incident that took place, that elderly woman that was attacked in my building. We had a meeting about that. The police was there. This bitch thinks she's going to get out on me, not the police. I ain't talking about the police. I'm not talking about the police. I'm talking about that crackhead. She brings up how she didn't know who my friend was, and that's why she was questioning him. This dirty, disgusting crackhead bitch with whose feet is black at the bottom. And I turned to her and said, first of all, he don't have to tell you who the fuck he is, you crackhead bitch. I told her just like that. So the white police lady, she came over and she had to calm me down. She said, sir, stop. She put her hands on me now. She put her hands on my chest to just to let me know. I wasn't going to attack that crackhead. I wasn't going to put my hands on her. It may have looked like that, but I was not. But I wanted her to know to mind her motherfucking business. You are a crackhead, and you should stay in a crackhead's place. Ever since I cussed that bitch out, she's been a whole different person. She don't sit downstairs no more. She don't bother nobody no more. The bitch even bought her a car. I don't even think she dibble and dabble in crack like that no more. I changed her entire vibration and frequency. The point that I'm making is that the government, they are catering to people like her. Because years ago, she would have been put out this building a long time ago. But they cater to people like her. They let crackheads have more motherfucking leeway. But they'll put out a single mother, or they'll put out a woman who doesn't smoke crack, but they'll let these crackheads and these people who disturb communities, who break the law, they'll let them stay. They will appease them. They will give every excuse in the book why you should not put them out, or why you should give them another chance. Just like this guy that I know, another crackhead, who's a known crackhead and a thief. They won't put him out either. They've taken this man to court 5 times, and they won't put him out. They won't give him a hard way to go. And he's a crackhead. He's on drugs. That's because of these laws in this country and the spell work that's backing it up. So my question is, who are these people that are really participating in these big, massive pool parties? Are they crackheads and drug addicts? I know a lot of them are young, but it don't matter. Who are these people? And why is the law being so laxy-daisy in doing something about it? Because I do know that most jurisdictions have noise ordinances, where after a certain time, you can't make no whole lot of noise with lawnmowers, machinery, etc., radios, construction. There are certain things you just can't do after a certain time in most jurisdictions. There's a noise ordinance, and I think it's between 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., if I'm not mistaken. So what's really going on? And the question remains, who are these people? Who are these people? And going back to that couple that's claiming racism, my whole thing is, okay, I understand that. Maybe so, maybe not. I get that. But what makes people think, my whole question is this, what makes people think that they have a right to disturb other people? I don't care what your race is, because white people can get this too. What makes you think that you can disturb other people? But I'm going to be honest with you, white neighbors don't do this type of shit. At least not here. They do other type of shit. But they don't do this noise shit. They don't do this for the most part. In some places they do. But I've never had any bad experiences with white neighbors. It's always been other black ones. And that's just fact. Now that could be due to geography, because I live in a predominantly black area. But I'm sure if I lived in a white area, it probably would be the same thing. I don't know. I'm sure it would. It's not a race thing. It's just the fact that people in general just don't give a fuck about their fellow man anymore. We have really went into a reprobate state of consciousness where nobody cares about nobody else. People think they can just do what they want to do. Nobody cares about disturbing nobody else. Nobody cares that, their music may be disturbing a neighbor. Nobody cares about stomping across somebody's head like the Chicago Bears linebackers. I'm a chubby person myself, and I don't even walk like that. I walk very light. You know what I'm saying? People just don't care. But it just seems like the law backs up these types of, I'm going to call them deviants, because they are trying to force people to deviate from having the right to have peace of mind where they live at. I know they've done it right here in this bill. Basically, they tell us, oh, you just got to deal with your neighbors. They can make all the noise they want. They can disturb you. They can smoke crack. They've already made a marijuana legal. They're going to make crack legal pretty soon, too. You watch. They're going to make that legal pretty soon, too. Pretty soon, it will not be illegal to smoke crack. Pretty soon, you watch. And then you have all of these bleeding heart liberals who are really not bleeding hearts. Because, you know, what I'm really learning about liberals, their spell work is very, very strong over the black community. But black people are waking up. But, you know, black people are shamed and attacked when they want to go over to the more conservative way of life. You know what I'm saying? But what I find interesting about these bleeding heart liberals, none of them, the ones that have money, they want everyone else to have compassion and love. You gotta have compassion for them. You gotta love them and all that. They want everyone to have all this not unrequited, but all this unconditional love and unconditional, no term compassion and patience for strangers they don't know. But don't none of them exhibit those qualities. Don't none of them, especially those women on The View. None of them. But they want us to keep accepting all of this craziness. We're not supposed to ask no questions if people are disturbing us and violating our peace of mind. It's almost like spiritual, cultural, and psychological graping. Graping. That's what it's like. Spiritual, cultural, emotional, and psychological graping. Telling you that it's okay for you to be violated, and you have to understand why you're being violated, and you have to understand that that person is doing that because of their pain, and you're not supposed to acknowledge your own. Like that crackhead. This building basically told us, well, you have to understand. No, we don't. That crackhead violated me. She violated me. She violated me. She had no right to confront my friend. She had no right to do that. And I drugged that motherfucking bitch verbally. And I'll do it again if I have to. Because you don't violate me and my energy and think you're going to get away with it. And then I did some other things behind the scenes, and y'all know what I'm talking about, and her life ain't been the same since. Be careful who the fuck you play with. People have a right to peace of mind. And I will achieve and maintain my peace of mind by any means necessary. Anyway, I'm done talking. No disrespect to anybody. You know, I know racism is real, and I know racism does take place. That's a given. You know, but sometimes I just wonder, what is all this shit really about? Because all of these pool parties that are being had, that are disturbing these communities, I don't think this is about no racism. I don't think this is about no racism. And somebody said that if it was a bunch of white kids doing this, it wouldn't be no problem. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. But usually when white kids act up and cut up, they're not doing it in a private home community, a homeowner's community. Usually they're doing that out somewhere at some institution or some college or some dorm or some shit like that. But they're coming into a domestic type of environment. They're coming into a domestic environment, a domestic community where people live, and they are destroying those people's peace of mind. And I don't agree with that. And if you agree with that, that's on you. But don't you fucking tell me what I should agree with and tolerate. I don't want to tolerate that shit, and I don't blame those people in that community for not tolerating it. And that's all I have to say. I had to get that shit off my chest, child. Y'all have a good day.